Hello again. Um, Today was interesting. So, specifically just today, overall the week itself has been a little bland, if not a tad stressful, because just learning moments, not for me necessarily, but when it pertains to my dogs, so which can oftentimes lead to messes that seemingly just don't go away. They do with enough time, but man, they can be really annoying. Um, Aside from that, I forgot to mark down that. Okay. Um, Overall, the week has been just fine. Nothing crazy, just pretty regular. Today would be particular because I just felt exhausted for some reason. This didn't stop me from doing doing vacuuming, but I did do a sort of more half-assed job, albeit honestly, probably the half-assed job was as effective as a full clean this time because I think most of the dirty parts were on the carpet in particular were relegated to certain spots. It definitely shows in the kitchen and dining room. I Yeah, typically those are a lot cleaner when I'm done with them, but that one I barely touched. The carpet, for the most part, aside from the shit that got on after I vacuumed, looks completely fine, but still just felt half-assed and incomplete. So I wasn't super satisfied with that. I don't really entirely know why. Well, I've got some speculation with that is pretty reasonable. One, my sleeping has been kind of bad, particularly on Friday. Obviously, well, actually, no. For most of this week, my sleeping's been kind of okay. But for for, well, I guess last night's sleep in particular was just not great at all. It was really not good. Um, and also, last night was also the first night that I actually ate a hearty meal in a while, which is really concerning to say out loud, and it was a really concerning thought to have in my head because holy shit, I gotta take care of myself. Yeah, I really have no excuse for that. I don't really know why. I'm legitimately just super unsure as to why I haven't been eating well. Well, I know part of the reason I don't eat lunch is mostly because I wake up around noon. So I just eat breakfast and don't even bother with lunch. But even then, I wouldn't exactly say I'm eating well during breakfast either. Um, Now that I think about it, I haven't really eaten well today either. So I guess I've eaten okay, but you gotta eat well if you want to keep yourself well. So, um, but aside from that, my goals have been going swimmingly. They've been going really well. Haven't missed a single day of brushing my teeth. The the 3 days in a row, like I said last week, is pretty tough. It's very tough. But I feel like once I get past Thursday, I'm kind of used to Friday, so it's not much of an issue, and it's actually pretty easy to do. But like the Wednesday, I'm typically ready to move on to like, oh yeah, I have Thursday. No, not anymore. So I have to get used to not having Thursday. And with Thursday, it's actually pretty normal for me not for me to be ready for Friday, so it's like completely fine. Um so like that's not much of an issue, but it's like specifically Wednesday into Thursday as well as Thursday itself. But once I'm pretty much past Thursday, like right now, my head stabilizes and I'm just like, just much more calm, and it gets a lot easier to resist because, well, you know, yeah, I don't do it on Fridays anyway, so what's the big loss? Um, so so far it's been kind of going well. There again, growing pains as there typically is, because it's not gonna be that easy. I gotta, what are you talking about, man? Um, and then vacuuming. I haven't missed a day yet. Of course, it's only week one, so ooh. But I did it on, yeah, I did it on the Friday of last week. Just did it on Monday and Friday here. I'm hoping by next Friday I'm doing a lot better. I learned to take care of myself better. Ooh, that would really be scary. Um, and then at the very least, I'll be able to kind of hopefully get up a little earlier, as well as just have the general energy. I won't just be exhausted from like the slightest thing. So we can look forward to that. Like I said, teeth brushing, haven't missed a single day, nor have I missed a single time. I've gotten both down really, really well. I will have to mention, or I feel like I have to mention, that typically playing with my friends is my biggest obstacle to actually remembering to brush my teeth because I just discard the alarm. But I just gotta learn to say, oh shit, I gotta I gotta brush my teeth. Plus, me playing with my friends doesn't happen nearly as often because who would have guessed? They've actually got lives. Employment. Holy shit. Um, mm. And as a matter of fact, there was a moment where I almost forgot to brush my teeth, but I didn't. The only it falls into a bit of a gray area for me though, especially since I hadn't really thought about this, so I never really established any rules about it. But it was already past midnight, so I would consider it the next day, but I hadn't fallen asleep, and it wasn't even close to like my morning brushing my teeth. So I just decided to let it pass and let myself recover from it, which I think I'm probably gonna do, as long as it doesn't get to like 4 o'clock where it's 6 hours from it. It's got to be at least 8 hours from the next teeth brushing, which gives me until 2 a.m. Which, if I'm brushing my teeth at 2 a.m., yeah, I failed. I'll probably consider it that I failed at that point. Really, it was more of just the midnight part. It was already past midnight, and I think that for the teeth brushing, not for the porn, I'm willing to give myself a little bit of leniency. I even had that conversation with myself during the porn one of how should I quantify days. Uh, I don't. I think it was like 3 months ago now, um, where I decided I would do hard line of once the clock strikes midnight, that's the next day. I'm not allowed to do anything anymore. If I'm in the middle of something, who cares? Stop. And boom. That came out of that. But I think for brushing my teeth in particular, especially since it's at 10 o'clock, I'll give myself a little bit of leniency on it. Other than that, not really anything crazy with goals. The week overall was pretty normal, as I said. I've certainly been learning to handle my anger better, as well as handle my stress better too, which I think those two kind of go hand in hand. Um, a little bit of an update as well. I have another journal. This one is exclusively for video game stuff or story stuff. Although I think I'm gonna relegate this mostly to video game stuff, specifically for games like Elden Ring, where it doesn't really give you a quest log and just it just is really vague with some of its quests. UP Psycho does that as well, so I'm going to be doing that. As a matter of fact, like a pretty decent portion of the pages I dedicated solely to a summary of the story, which I decided I'd stop and instead do more of like a quest log thing, because I'm going to remember the story, and if I'm not, I'm going to just replay the game. But I'll have this so that I can do all of the side quests or even the main quests without any real issue. I'll note down like major item gains, stuff like that. It'll just be a handy little guidebook for me if I ever want to come back to a game again. And just boom. I think currently, since I started a new playthrough of Skyrim, I've been writing down all of the alchemy ingredients because I would rather just have them all written down than have to search through the wiki. It's just more convenient to have it in one book, which so far takes up 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 total pages so far, and there's probably going to be a lot more because there's a lot of alchemy ingredients in that game. So I'm gonna try and do a lot of stuff like that with that. I don't know how many games it'll help me with, especially since a lot of games have quest logs and stuff that tracks. But there are still quite a few games that don't really give you any of that. Again, Elden Ring, pretty much any FromSoft game, I think, will be really good for that. UP Psycho is one that just doesn't give you a quest log. There are certain places you can go to find like objective stuff, but that is typically very rare to actually find. And this is more of just logging down pretty much everything else as well. There's a lot of secrets in the game, I guess is a good way of putting it. They're not really secrets, but there's a lot of extra stuff that is pretty hard to keep track of unless you got like a guide or are writing it down in a book. So that's a new thing. I don't know if I mentioned this, but I think with the next book series that I'm gonna read, or next book, depending on what it is, I know I took The Hobbit out, but I haven't started reading yet, so can't really I can't really do anything with that. I think I'm gonna start writing notes while I do the book. Not on physical paper. I downloaded an app on here, on my phone, on here, and I might even put it on my computer just for ease of use because I think typing on the computer is just way faster and way easier to just keep notes, draw conclusions, maybe connect stuff from earlier in the book to later in the book, just to keep a sort of cohesiveness to the story and maybe even help me understand the greater themes of it. I think that was probably worst, my biggest issue when reading The Witcher is that some of the themes feel a little just transparent, I guess. Maybe they weren't easy to grasp. They were kind of little jumbly, and the fact that they don't always come up sort of made me forget about them a little bit. So if I ever reread The Witcher, which I probably will, I'll end up using the notes to write stuff down, things that I think are significant, interesting stuff, all kinds of stuff like that. And aside from that, oh, I guess another thing, a little side quest I've been doing is trying to stop biting my nails, or at least stop doing it as much. Um, I decided to do a sort of reset day tomorrow. I'm going to focus on one finger. Do it gradually, right? I'm just going to start with my right thumb, and I'm not allowed to chew my right thumb at all. Just, I can't do it. And I'm going to see how far it takes me. I know I have gum to help, but when I'm running out too, I'm still doing a little bit of research on what gum I want, and I realized the stuff I do have I don't really want, which led me to using it a little more sparsely. So Um, but anywho, I've been waffling on long enough. I have nothing more to speak about. I will see myself next time.